partners do. I have an activity sample, but again, in the interest of time, I know there are a lot of folks here who wish to speak. The Civic Action Plan is a live example. It's a classroom example. It's about a 5-minute video. If you'd like, I can show it. If you'd like to move on and you'd like to reference it at a later time, we can do that as well.
Why don't you show it?
You'd like to see it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, in the absence of not having this plugged into the audio, I'm going to have to bend the microphone down to the speaker, so I apologize for the audio at the very beginning.
Hello and welcome to Lesson 3, Problems, Policy, and Civic Actions. In Lesson 1, your students brainstormed an inventory of civic competencies that resulted in a profile of citizenship that they will be actively exploring through CAP. In Lesson 2, they learned about the connections between public policy and the variety of social problems and issues that policy is designed to address. Your students are now ready to select a specific focus for their CAP projects. Being able to narrow the focus of their CAP project will be critical to a successful civic experience. To do so, it's important that students learn and understand how to analyze their CAP problem or issue in terms of its causes and effects, which is the central activity of Lesson 3. This webcast will describe an alternate approach to the cause and effect discussion described in the lesson plan, which will allow your students to apply the cause and effect process to the problem or issue that they're concerned about. As a result, they will learn how to break down a broad issue like crime or homelessness into separate lists of specific root causes or primary effects that they can choose from to become the central focus of their CAP projects. The process begins with a cause and effect chart. At the top of this chart, ask your students to write down the problem or issue that they're concerned about. Underneath the issue heading, ask them to create 2 separate columns titled Causes and Effects. Next, instruct students to ask themselves what are the primary causes of their selected problem or issue. Ask students to brainstorm and record their responses under the Causes column. Have students consider the following prompts if they experience trouble getting started. For the purposes of this webcast, we will consider the issue of high school dropouts and the focus question of what are the primary causes for students dropping out of high school in our community. Responses might include peer pressure, school doesn't seem relevant, lack of positive role models, or economic need. Next, instruct students to ask themselves what are the primary effects of this problem or issue in our community. Instruct students to brainstorm and record their responses to this question under their effects column. Have students consider the following prompts to get their brainstorm started. Using the example of high school dropouts, responses might include a lack of community pride, groups of loitering youth, high unemployment among their peers, and a reluctance of businesses to operate or hire in a community known for its high dropout rate. The result will be 2 lists of specific causes and effects from which students can choose a single item to be the focus of their CAP project. For example, students can decide to address the high school dropout problem by focusing on the specific root cause of peer pressure. Or they could decide to focus on the effect of high unemployment among high school dropouts in their community. The critical objective of this exercise is for students to choose a single item from their cause or effect columns. This will help them focus on a specific problem or issue that is accessible, relevant, and based on their personal experiences. Keep in mind that at this point, it's not important for students to validate their responses beyond their initial perceptions. That's what CAP is for, and the CAP planners are designed to guide them through the process of researching the problem or issue to confirm what the actual causes are, who's responsible, and what can be done to effectively address the problem or issue that they think is important. The cause and effect exercise concludes by asking students to respond to the prompt of so what? In other words, why is it so important to their family, friends, community, and or our society that the cause or effect of this problem be addressed? By responding to this prompt, students will begin to assume ownership of their CAP issue and also begin to develop a compelling argument for why it is so important that it become a priority for the responsible policymakers to address.
As we celebrate, I put back the families and the innocent people are affected by police abuse. Those who mind the business and those who have mental issues are the ones being abused and punished.
As I mentioned, one of these causes, just one, you're not going to go after just police abuse. You're going to go after one of the causes of police abuse.
People of the community need to stand up, and the government needs to take action.
If it's because local officials don't know about it and aren't accountable, that's where you would focus. That would be your cap. At this point, your students have selected a problem or issue that they're concerned about, a root cause or primary effect that their CAP project will focus on, and a compelling argument for why it is so important that it be addressed as soon as possible. They are now ready to complete their project proposal planner and begin developing their CAPs.
So just an example of some of the kind of work that would fall, or a nice project that would fall under one of the standards, which if you notice down here on the Common Core grade 11-12, write informative explanatory texts to examine and convey complex issues or ideas, concepts, and information clearly and accurately through the effective selection, organization, and analysis of content. So it's a very different way for students to be involved in their own learning, to drive their own learning in something that they're interested in that isn't so much of a chalk and talk technique as we sometimes see in instruction. But the standard requires them to go deeper, particularly with the so what. That was the part that I liked about that particular video, is the so what piece. And that's what I think brings Common Core to a new level and brings our standards to a new level, that we're asking more about so what to our students regardless of the content area.